Hello and welcome to another Battle Games in Middle-earth painting tutorial. In this video we're delving into the water of Galadriel's mirror and looking at the way things could have been if Peter Jackson decided to make the Scouring of the Shire. Well, sort of. Games Workshop did the hard work in 2004's The Scouring of the Shire supplement, and some lovely minis of Ruffians, or Sharkey's rogues, came along with it. So let's paint this bad guy with a jug of beer. I started with Lauren Forest on the waistcoat, but if you're painting a lot of these boys at once, then I'd keep the same few base colours, but use them on different clothing to keep the palette unified and simple for each different model. It would be wise. But then if you're painting an army of these, you're abandoning reason for madness. Keeping it nice and earthy, I then use Mournfang Brown to paint that beer gut. Good on him. After all, why take a six-pack when you can have the whole barrel? Hey! I also paint the trousers in this, which does make him look like he's wearing PJs underneath, but once you paint the rest, there's enough other colours to divide it up and make it look a bit more normal. Plus, any self-respecting Lord of the Rings fan loves PJ anyway. The third colour is the Fang, again keeping these colours nice and muted and earthy. I'm not being super careful with the layers, this is all about efficiency largely, later we'll do the details, at the moment I'm just painting them ruffianly. Already smashing through this, and after all we've got a whole army to do, so let's better paint it quickly. So with Cadian Flesh Tone we paint the skin, and a lot of it on that head. He reminds me of that fella from the Goonies. Sloth, what a legend. But with the flesh tone I paint his arms and hands as well as that potato head of his. I found it relatively easy to leave the eyes and mouth in the black, but we'll wash it later, so don't worry if you get them in flesh tone as well. Now with Rhinox hide I paint the truncheon or the club and the bow brown. I also do bits of the quiver too, which is fine, but I think I decided to go a different direction with the colour for the quiver in the end. Each of their roan, each of their own. Get it? That one is a bit of a stretch, I'll give you that. With Storm Vermin Fur, I start painting all the straps, including the ones on the quiver. Eventually they'll all look a sort of dark leathery tone, but for now, keep it in the lines and they'll look okay. I also go back over a bit under his skirt, which quite frankly could be joined to any part of his existing clothing, so it could be any colour, but I decided to make it something a little bit different on the front with the grey as well. Then with Doombull Brown, I paint his cider or beer jug, just to make it look like one of those traditional ceramic pots. It kind of reminds me of those Greek urns you can buy if you ever go on holiday to a Greek island, so I wanted the colours to be that warm, orangey brown. Then, before we wash everything, it's a quick coat of lead belcher on the keys for the lock holes. And I paint the arrowheads with Talarn sand. Now, I may as well dunk the guy into the pot here, but the pot's too small, so I give him a liberal wash in Devlan Mud or Agrax Earthshade. Nulnul would work, hell, even Seraphim Sepia would work. The point here is to tie all the colours together and shade everything at once, so the blues and greens don't really clash as much. Ideally, leave it overnight to dry, and already it's transformed. If you're painting a lot of these, maybe just leave it here, but if you're a perfectionist like me, carry on. Basically, we're going to be highlighting most of the rest of the model with the same colours we used as base coats, just to keep it simple. So I begin with a jug and paint that again in Doombull Brown. I also highlight the club in this, and I wanted to give it a wooden grain appearance, so I kind of highlighted it in straight lines down its length with the side of my brush, kind of dabbing excess bits of paint on my finger, just to make sure it's not too overwhelming. Then with Gorthor Brown, I highlight the edge of the bow, aiming here to give it a slightly lighter willowy texture to the wood. I also dry brush the shafts of the arrows poking out the quiver as well. Back now to the waistcoat base coat with Narlock or Lauren Green. I just highlight that up by painting the top creases of his jackets. I love this process because you're left with a really nice grubby jacket after the Agrax earlier. Now with the Fang, I return to his little skirt, and again, just following the lines of this awesome model, I paint the pleats. It basically works just by framing each section by painting the tops and edges. It looks great. I used Dawnstone on pretty much everywhere I painted Storm Vermin Fur earlier, so that's the straps across his chest, his belt, the quiver straps, and the straps on his club. Or to save my breath, just paint the straps in Dawnstone. Ooh, also the bit under his skirt. Classic lazy dry brushing here with Ushabti Bone. Using my damaged thumb as a palette, I just give the arrow flights a bit of a lighter touch. Back to old Potato Head himself.
Potatoes!
With Cadian Flesh Tone, I start picking out the facial details. The Agrax wash really took the shine out of his skin, so I just return a layer pretty much all over his shiny head. Also, I paint his beefcake forearms and hands. Then white for the eyes, carefully paint a horizontal line in there. It's quite easy to do because it's a big eye. And then for my traditional eye dotting lottery. Sometimes I fluff it, sometimes I go home with the jackpot. This time he looks a little bit derpy, but that's why we love him. With a dash of Baylor brown, I just pick out the detail on his jacket. And voila! We have a lovely, lovely Ruffian, our best mate, Potato Head. Doing a bit of modelling, showing his angles for the Shire's wanted posters, and there in front of a lovely hobbit hole. Potato Head Ruffian, in all his glory. Well, I must say, painting this Ruffian has given me an idea, because usually a Ruffian army, you don't really see them on the tabletops. There's only like, I don't know, 1 million of them involved in most armies, but I've decided I'm going to embark on a challenge. I'm going to paint 1,000 points of these guys and take them to a tournament. But I'm going to need your help. Check out the next video to see how you can get involved in my 1,000 points of Ruffian painting. It's going to be quite a year. Thanks for watching.